A celebrated songstress from Columbia, South Carolina that's gone to the heights of Hollywood. From her debut album in 1999, Black Diamond, all the way to 2019's Full Circle, Angie Stone is definitely a living legend. And today she sits down with us in the Jenleeion Circle to discuss her discography, her personal life, and also her faith. I'm so excited. I'm Mario Bonds. It is a pleasure to sit down with you today. I can't tell you how giddy I am to actually be sitting down with the living legend, Angie Stone. First, I'll say, how you doing?
I am blessed and highly favored.
Blessed
but I am in awe of you and your gift. You're gifted around the clock.
Wow, thank you.
I'm honored to be here with you.
Well, thank you for that. That coming from you, that definitely means a lot, because you've paid your dues, and you're not done yet, as you said at the end of your episode with Unsung. So first, I'd like to go back to the beginning, because I think even in the episode Unsung, there are a lot of facets of Angie Stone that people really don't know, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to go all the way back to the beginning, right? Okay. Prior to the sequence, which we'll get in just a second. Okay. But your start in music, it was in your home.
My start in music was in my home, with my father being a quartet singer, me being in a church choir at 11 years old, having a seat in the choir that I so desired to be a part of, being in home and group talent shows at my elementary school, singing songs unafraid to perform at a young age, not knowing where I got the courage from. But I believe, because I'm an only child, the entertainment facet came from watching my dad and his crew sing quartet all day. It was the entertainment that I was privy to, because I was an only child. It was get your popcorn, sit in the living room on the couch, and absorb all of this music that you're hearing.
So that young, it prompts me to ask this question. You knew you had the it factor that young?
That young, I didn't know what the it factor was, but I knew that I wanted to be it. And when often asked what did I want to be when I grew up, I would throw the word star out there so quick, because it's the only thing I desired to be, and that was to be a star. And I thought being a star was to be a singer that's being heard, to be someone out there entertaining. I didn't know the hard work that it took to get there until I actually got on the beaten path.
On the beaten path, and that definitely commenced with you opening your mouth and uttering the melody, your first solo, Harvest.
Oh yeah, The Harvest, is the first solo song I sang at church. How'd you know that? Wow.
Can you indulge us a little bit?
The harvest is plentiful, but the labors are few. That was the song that I sang with Diane Bowers. I'll never forget it. It was my first time training my ear to harmonize. She sang the alto and I sang the soprano. And all I remember doing was standing up there. I gotta stay on my note. I gotta stay on my note. I gotta stay on my note. And when I made it through, that was the Sunday that changed my life. Every Sunday after that, all of the elders in the church would say, let's hear that little girl sing. Can we hear the little girl sing? I'm like, well, there are other people in the choir. So, it just got my creative juices to flowing. I wanted to learn more songs, which I did. And eventually I started leading a little bit more. My desire to create my own band and all that stuff evolved after that.
With the music bug alive at home, Angie Stone and two other friends ended up forming a female rap group that made history. Talking about that, the history that was made, because this is a part of what I teased in the intro, that there are facets that people don't know. Far before the Salt and Peppers, you established history with two other friends. Take me to the beginning of the sequence.
The beginning of the sequence, wow. 3 young girls that were still in school. I was the baby in high school, in my senior year in high school. Prior to being a basketball player, cheerleader, all that other stuff, I was into music. I created my own band. I write songs. I wrote cheers. Cheryl and myself ended up joining a group together. We later incorporated Blondie and formed the group The Sequence. I came up with the name Sequence because I love the shiny, sparkly clothes. And so Sequins was what it was called. Sequin was the fabric. But we said, let's call ourselves Sequence, and that way we could always shine.
And you guys were also alphabetically in sequence, right?
And we were in sequence, A, B, and C. It was Angie, Blondie, and Shirley. Our birthday was December 18th, October 20th, November 19th, and December 18th.
And with the history that was end up made, take us to the first part of that where you guys dared to try and get into a concert, hopeful to get backstage, to create your own audition moment with Sylvia Robinson. Interesting story. Take us.
Yes, we had already made up all these songs and had written all these songs, and Sugar Hill Gang was coming to town this week, and we had to get to that concert. We had no clue that Sylvia Robinson would be there. We just wanted to get to Sugar Hill Gang. And our dream was to meet them and let them know that we could rap and sing. And when we got there, we had no tickets that were promised would be left for us. Of course, we didn't have jobs. We were young. We couldn't buy tickets. So a young man who Blondie used to work for promised to leave us tickets. He was called himself manager to us. There were no tickets. Harold Miles, who was the manager for the Sugar Hill Gang at the time, saw us standing outside. He was very taken back with my dark skin.
He likes your pretty skin.
Because he was really fair, and he saw me and he says, man, that's a pretty little black thing. And he said, let her in. And then I said, wait, sir. I said, don't let me in without my friends. I'm not coming in without my friends. He said, I don't care who you bring in, as long as you come in. So that's how we got in to the concert, and not knowing who he was. You know, he was an older man, so we thought he was the gatekeeper. But he got it, let us in, and took us straight back to the backstage area, which, you know, obviously God had already planned that. We got back there, and it was the first leg of the tour for the Sugar Hill Gang. That was their first stop. Just so happened, Sylvia Robinson being the owner of Sugar Hill Records, she didn't want them to come out for the first time without guidance, so she happened to be on that tour with them, and she was there. And he took us straight to her. And so we said, hey, we didn't know who she was at the time, but we told the guys we want to sing something for the Sugar Hill Gang. And so the band member said, well, what do you got to sing? And we started, we're going to funk you right on up. We're going to funk you right on up. And they was like, hold up, wait a minute, wait. And that's when they ran and got Sylvia Robinson. She came down, we sang the song, and she said, wait a minute. She sat down. She said, sing that again, and we sang it, and I sang another song called The Times When We're Alone, and she was so engaged that she says, I'm going to make you girls stars. You know, we didn't know who she was from a can of paint, but we believed her. We started jumping up and down. Went home and told my mama, listen, this lady's going to make us star. My mama said, Angie, you just believe everything people tell you.
Your own ambitious self?
Yes, they thought I was crazy, but lo and behold, she did call back for us, and we went and cut that record, and it was the first hip-hop record made, original hip-hop record to ever be recorded at Sugar Hill Records. A lot of the other rappers in the world were sampling everybody else's record, and we were not only the first female rap group to make history, but we were the first female rap group to have an original rap record.
And in fact, that record went gold within 3 weeks of release.
Yes, it went gold. It was 10 years before Salt and Pepper, 10 years before Queen Latifah, 10 years before MC Lyte. We were actually the lamplight to a lot of the female rappers that came afterwards. And rightfully so, they are icons, because along with Missy Elliott, who I want to shout out and thank for giving us the proper credit when she got her star, she acknowledged Chirac, myself, along with some other people that paved the way. But, you know, it is what it is, but I'm happy because of what we did. These ladies has taken it to the next level.
In fact, Funk You Up has sort of made a resurgence, in at least from an interpolation perspective.
Yes.
I think both from Dr. Dre and then most recently, although he admitted it and the message disappeared off of Instagram, Bruno Mars, the interpolation of Funk You Up in that song. Why didn't you guys go after y'all money?
We did.
You did?
We're the only ones that did get paid. Everybody else who had less interest in the song got paid. By the time we started making a hole in the project, all the money was used up from what they paid out. Not to mention Sylvia Robinson had passed away. The intellectual properties died with her.
I see. And so for our audience that doesn't really know what interpolation is, could you give us a schooling on that?
Yes. Interpolation is people that use or change, hedge around your music and use groups and parts of your music slick. Like Bruno Mars, for instance, may use a piece of the song that you may not recognize. But we know it's ours because you've taken a whole section out of it. Dr. Dre did a whole version over and added lyrics to it. So when they add more lyrics, they can also fight for credit for the song. So the interpolations is we get to use you without getting your permission. And sometimes they get away with it. More than likely, if your paperwork isn't in order, they can get away with it. So we've had over 300 interpolations, samples on our music.
Yeah, very, very important word because obviously it came up in the social sphere, obviously, with Beyonce's usage of milkshake, etc. And everyone's, this new word, interpolation, not quite new, but thank you for that. Thank you for that. So there is this huge success with Angie Stone, the rapper, and the group. And then at some point, you guys end up with the Sugar Hill Gang, and you are actually writing their songs.
We wrote Apache, we wrote Eighth Wonder, we wrote Let's Dance for the West Street Mob. We were actually the voices for the West Street Mob. A lot of people didn't know that because Sylvia was a genius at making hit records and smoke screening a lot of this stuff. So she didn't want people to really know she was using the same artists with different names of groups. So we just did the template for the hooks and the party tracks, and then they would throw somebody else on it. But if you listen to Def Comedy Jam, when you hear that Let's Dance, I know you got the feet for Let's Dance. Come on and get down. That's us from back in 1979.
Now, with this first chapter of your career, right, 3 or 4 albums in with the Sugar Hill Gang, etc., there's a point where you said, I would rather work hard from the bottom to get back up than to stick around, right?
Yes.
When it was time to sort of renegotiate, right? That's an interesting crossroad for someone to be at, especially at the beginning of their career.
I had to make a choice at the beginning if I wanted to stay in a situation that was shady or walk out on faith. And I walked out on faith because I was born and raised in the church. I knew that God didn't lead me there to leave me. And so I trusted him over everything. Once I realized that I was being bamboozled, it was at my discretion to trust God that he would give me the success that I thought I was getting originally. And so I walked away, and I lost everything at that point. I lost everything, but I was proud because I did what my heart said to do. Even though I had to get on public assistance, I got pregnant with my daughter. I got married at that time, but I got pregnant with my daughter, and I had to survive. I was, very young, very naive, but very strong in my faith. And because of that, I won in the long run.
Yeah, and I'm keeping your dignity intact. The imagery of, well, I've done these things. I have a hit record that's gone gold. It went to number 15 on the black charts. And I'm Angie Stone, and I'm standing in the welfare line to apply for food stamps.
Yes. Right? I didn't look at nobody. I stood in the line. I didn't look at nobody. I kept my mind focused on my newborn daughter. And I could not allow another man's mockery to get in the way of the mercy and grace that God was giving me to be in that line. And I had to pray that when I got to the front of the line, that they would honor my request and I can get a place, a home for me and my daughter, and I can feed her.
the disillusionment of the marriage at that particular time, and I ask respectfully, was there support from Rodney at the time, or was he
at
still
the time,
going through
Rodney,
his own struggles?
one of the things that Rodney said, and I can credit him on, that I will always have to remember is he said he was experienced in being a boyfriend. He never was experienced in being a husband. And as a result, he was young. He was naive as well. And I cannot fault him because we were too young to get married. We were 21, 22, didn't have a job. You were out here trying to make it as an artist. You had a child, you know. Unfortunately, back then, a lot of those young guys, they weren't, the mindset had been, I ain't working for the white man. Especially in New York, their mindset was trodden on, I'm going to get it, I'm going to get my own business. And because the choices that he made, he hit a brick wall. And as a result, I had to decide whether I stay on there and hit that brick wall with him, or I go for my daughter and myself. And what I did was I had to walk away because he didn't know any better. So yes, it was a bit of a disappointment. But when he realized he was falling, he continued to sink and dive in the mess. And that's when I said, I'm done.
Yeah, and people tend to forget that the ups and downs of the music industry often they happen against the backdrop of people just going through regular life people problems, right?
Yeah.
And so after that, you continued songwriting, you continued in music, etc., and you obviously ended up meeting D'Angelo and had a fantastic, huge input and effect on him becoming who he was. You know?
Well, I'm a hustler. And when I say hustle, I started as a telemarketer. I started working. I saved my money. I got in the studio. I started working. I take $100 a week out my check whenever I got my check to buy studio time, just to write, just to write and more writing. And as a result, time went by. I ended up meeting Prince, Jill Jones. I met all those people before I met D'Angelo. By the time I met D'Angelo, I was a songwriter. He was a songwriter. It was songwriting that brought us together.
You both were signed under MCA Universal, or?
We were signed to Midnight Music.
Okay.
I had gotten a publisher deal long before he did.
Of course.
I was in a successful group. I was in the Vertical Hole. When he met me, he came to my session. He says, "Please, can I get on this song with you?" You know, he approached me. He pursued me, actually, and we became the best of friends. So by the time I met D'Angelo, I was a successful artist, a songwriter as well, and I had my publishing deal. I coming out of my first publishing deal, going into my second publishing deal. He was at the second company. That was his first publishing deal. She put us together. We were the first two signees of the company. He was a great talent, but they were concerned that he could not complete a project. So they put us together. And when they did that, magic began to happen.
And that's the biggest misconception that, of course, people care because, as you know, it was she's messing with what became a huge sex symbol, et cetera, in pop culture. But that's the misconception, that people think that, Angie Stone jumped in then when he became D'Angelo. But you guys were connected 4, 5, 6 years prior to that moment.
Right. No. D'Angelo has always been an exceptional artist. And what people don't realize is you can have all that talent, you can have everything, and be missing a small component. What his was self-esteem at the time. I was just his biggest cheerleader. And all he needed was someone to rally behind him and let him know that he was great. It's one of the things that I say can be his downfall. Even today, if you're not self-serving in your own strength and you need somebody to rally you, you will always fall. What has happened in this case is he's always been great, and I have to say one of the best to do it. But he is, when it comes to strength and self-support, he's, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. Confident. He's not confident.
He lacks confidence.
He lacked confidence then, and a lot of that had to do with, because he knows he's a great musician, but he lacked confidence and acceptance of people, because a lot of that went along with being overweight having, a lot of issues with his weight as a kid. And so that carried over into his manhood, and that carried over into his music, which is why his biggest success has been How Does It Feel? Because it's the first time people got to see him with his clothes off, but that came with a trainer, that came with a lot of hard work. And whenever you don't see him, guess what? I'll leave that to the imagination.
And I think about that, especially with the low self-esteem, right?
Yes.
That can come and go, right? It's an up and down thing. I've had my own bouts with it, right? But
yes.
You think about that, yes, it comes with this trainer, it comes with hard work, but when it's done, if the self-esteem isn't solidified for you, it's easy to lose it again.
It goes back,
right?
It goes back
and
forth.
And I know that the D'Angelo piece for you has been examined exhaustively over the decades, but you said something recently that made me want to touch the subject with you.
Sure.
You said that all these years later, you're still affected by the breakup. What did you mean by that?
Because I have a child with him that, in my opinion, is the fabric of both parents. And because of that, he's a musician. He's a person that has a very warm spirit. He has to look at the wiles of the industry, and his father is affected by it. It affects him. It bothers me because I've watched my son for 25 years struggle with the fact that the industry and the public has it wrong.
Yeah.
And because they have it wrong, it's like a melting pot on a child that never really got a chance.
Wow, I see that. Angie, getting directly to your ability to maintain your own self-dignity, right?
Jesus.
At Jenleeion, we deal with a lot of anti-bullying stuff. It's our mantra that we're against anti-bullying. But you went through a lot of public bullying simply for being heavy in the context of dating the D'Angelo. Mm-hmm. But there was a reason for that, right? And D'Angelo was extremely accepting of it. I think that's another big misconception. What is he doing with her?
Because he was fat before I was. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, besides that, I think you said something recently about that. You don't know someone's story, right? Mm-hmm. And so the idea is bouts of prednisone, right? Put you in a certain position because of your health. Mm-hmm. But yet here you are in the public sphere being chided on for being the big girl that's with D'Angelo.
Right.
How did you maintain your dignity through that?
Jesus. Let me tell you something. God, we don't get a template for what our journey is going to be. The Bible says, basic instincts before leaving earth. There are instructions in that book that get us through the hardest times of our life. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. One day we could be walking, the next day we could lose our legs. One day we could be skinny, next day we could be fat. You and I both know one day we can see, and the next day we won't be able to see. Yeah. You can sing, and then you can't. You might be able to talk, and then you won't be able to talk. We don't know what the journey is until we are on the path. So with me being a big girl at that particular time, God switched it around. The vanity that was there, I was beautiful to me. But God took a person that he knew was strong in her faith and flipped the script. It's just like with Job. He took everything from Job. Everything from Job. Okay, everything. But then when he gave it back 10 times greater. So I'm saying that to say, I was heavy, but look at me now.
Yeah.
And so D'Angelo was heavy, but by the time he got with me, the roles had reversed. I took a lot of heat and a lot of flack.
Yeah.
But if I didn't know the Lord, and I didn't know that I was in a journey, and I didn't trust what God was doing, then I would despair. Did I cry? It hurt me because I'm a human being.
Of course.
I'm made of flesh and bone, just like everybody else. It hurts. But at the end of the day, I am spirit made. And because I know the Lord, I knew this too shall pass.
20 years into your career, you did something that most artists can't do, in the sense that you reinvented yourself. Of course, that's when you were signed to Arista, and I think with it not written, but Clive Davis asking you not to speak about the fact that you were a rapper previously, because this was when the establishment of Angie Stone, the soul singer, was supposed to take flight. Right? That transition, exciting. If you can, Black Diamond and you making that transition from the rapper to the soul singer, that was an exciting time. Take me back to there.
Well, that was, for me, it was supposed to happen because I set the tone early in 1979. When I went to Sylvia Robinson, and in the midst of Funk You Up, I asked her, can I sing on this record? Because in hindsight, I knew ultimately I was a singer. I was a rapper, but I wanted to sing one day, and I knew that I was going to grow up, and I didn't want to just rap. I wanted to be able to make a song one day. And what God allowed me to do was be bold enough to ask for what I wanted. Okay, God said we have not because we ask not. And so when I asked her, she said, I don't care. She just wanted to rap. I don't care. Do what you want to do. And what we did was we sang on the record. And henceforth, setting the tone as rappers that now embody song in their rap. Now you can't have a rap record without somebody singing a hook in it. From now, Jay-Z, Kanye West, Beyonce, all of them are doing it. Lauryn Hill did it with the Fugees. But that's a template for what we started. And see, when they go back and talk about hip-hop, they omit the part that back then there wasn't no singing. They were just doing a bunch of rhyme for hours at a time.
Yeah.
And when we started singing, we added color. We added culture that opened up a whole nother. Now there's leverage to hip-hop and R&B because of something we were able to do.
Wow.
And we ain't looking for no credit for it, but the truth needs to be known because history needs to be explained one day the right way. And the reason why the legs have grown so long on hip-hop is because every year something else gets added to it. You know, at first it was just DJs.
Yeah.
We started out with a band. We were the only one with a band. Sugar Hill Gang and Sequence were the only one with a band.
Wow.
You know, we just did a thing for a show, and they said, well, Curtis Blow, you're the first one with a gold record. He stopped them. No. Sequence got their gold record first.
That's respect. Right?
Yes.
2 gold albums in, Arista, eventually Clive moves on to J Records, right?
Yes.
And you gave us the song that made me proud to be black and chocolate.
Yes.
Brown Brother gave us that particular anthem. This takes me to a point where you had to make a huge decision, and you did something that artists don't normally do. Of course, with the emergence of Alicia Keys and radio changing and looking at this younger audience, you asked Clive to release you. Tell us why.
Well, I had been on Arista. I signed through the UK, came through the States. When they took me to J Records, they didn't ask me. I was actually excited about working with L.A. Reid and Babyface over at Arista. And without me knowing, they had grouped me with a bunch of people. I think of myself, Deborah Cox, R.L. and them, and a bunch of other people that they needed, and Alicia Keys, they wanted to move and create J Records, and they didn't tell me. I found out in a bulletin that was released at the label that all of these people will be leaving with Clive. And I'm like, when was somebody going to tell me? Because I had already had a meeting with L.A. Reid that I wanted to go over there. So, of course, when that friction happened, it kind of put a stalemate on the relationship that I wasn't going to be able to stay with L.A. Reid, so I was uncomfortable. But I went to J Records because I wanted to be supportive. These were the people that gave me the shot of a lifetime.
To reinvent, which was incredible.
Right, so I loved it, but what happened when I got there is I became, you got your freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. I was a senior. I had been there, and I was the go-to woman. Clive Davis and Peter Edge would send everybody to me. Jennifer Hudson, Jenny, what's the child name? The Puerto Rican girl.
Jennifer Lopez?
Not Jennifer Lopez. She went out there with 50 Cent in. Olivia, what's her name? Olivia or something. Don't worry about it. Anyway.
It'll come back to
Yeah,
us.
she,
we'll do research.
Jimmy Cozier and all of them, J Hood, Fantasia, everybody that got grouped up in there, they was like, well, go to Angie, go talk to Angie, she'll show you. So when Alicia Keys was, she had made her record, she had made the transition, Peter Edge and them, Alicia wants to do something for you, blah, blah, blah. I had entitled my album Diary of a Soul Sister. And the fact that I had gotten yes from several icons to appear on the album with me. I was influenced by Lauryn Hill. I was excited about it. So Diary of a Soul Sister was my heart. And it wasn't until halfway through the, getting the people to say yes, and I'm ready to make my record, they came to me and told me afterwards, well, we want you to change the name of the album. Why? And when it came to me that Alicia wanted to use Diary of Alicia Keys, after I had come up with the title, that's what did it for me, because I had already been, helping. I love her, don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
but they took that, and what they did was put an African slab. I mean, they took that whole retro African vibe and made her album. If you remember the cover, it was just like, huh? And it kind of, it took my whole dream, the whole thing, and I think I had Patti LaBelle, I had Natalie Cole, I had Shaka. I had a few people signed on to do songs with me, and I wanted that old school vibe with me, because that's what my diary was, and it was pretty much all of the old school sanctioning, like
the deepest of soul. Yeah.
Well, what I was doing was getting there. Okay, that we love you, Angie. We'll do something with you, and sit down. I was just trying to challenge Lauryn Hill's miseducation of Lauryn Hill. So I wanted something just as clever to move into that space. So that was what I came up with. And I think what did it for me was with the title of the album, and then Alicia came out with You Don't Know My Name, and she used the moments, which was what I was doing with the other artists. She put the moments on that record, and they took that whole idea, and that's when I said, I'm done.
Wow.
Because if you're going to make me a person that just came up with concept, then pay me a check to just do that.
Understood. But then the interesting part is I love how the unexpected happens, because several albums later, when we get to 2007, right, the Art of Love and War, that goes to #1.
Entered the charts at #1.
Entered the charts at #1 after J Records.
And then Clive Davis and Peerage both called me on the phone, and they said, how dare you wait to leave us and get a #1 record? We all laughed, because Alicia I think she was a single or something over there, but they would cross each other on the charts. And I said, well, you guys just didn't have the faith in me. This label had nothing to lose, so they built everything around this album, and that's why we got the #1. And I just think they were shocked because they couldn't get it. And I went somewhere else and got a #1.
And that shows you the genius of Angie Stone.
Well, I knew all along, and what it is politics.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Now,
I ain't had one since then, though, because guess what? They could never get one since.
So you just mentioned that they would send artists to you to get info, to get tidbits, etc.
Well, they wanted me to train them, work with them, coach them, get them in a place. They at one point, J Records considered making me an A&R director, but as an artist. And I told them I wasn't interested in doing it right then, because I was still focused on my career, and I didn't really think I could give 100% to another artist when I'm still trying to be an artist myself.
So I find it interesting, because the second season of R&B Divas Atlanta, interestingly, you're sort of brought in to do the same thing, right? For artists that are already established.
Exactly, that's all they brought me in there for.
Right, but to that end, I bring this up because you made a comment saying that you pretty much had to salvage your brand after that experience, right? Do you feel like you have successfully salvaged your brand after that experience, and why do you feel like it was so brand threatening?
Well, it was brand threatening because I built a certain characterization for myself, and to allow myself to stoop to the level of disrespect that was about to branch upon, because it was almost, you got to go there or go home. And it was giving me a choice to be a bitch, excuse my language, or to, and for me, I was never going to mislead the audience that follows me because of characterization. I have kids. Yeah, I have kids that look up to me. I have people that follow me. So I got to be the example. I have to lead by example. I can't do one thing, say one thing, and do something else. So I just would not allow them to take me there, because God knows if I go there, you don't want to see me go there. Because I can go there.
Columbia, South Carolina, what comes
all
out?
the way. Tiger Brown. That's what they used to call me. So when I have to go there, it's not good for nobody. It's not good for nobody. Okay? So I try to stay here.
And not be an angry Sagittarius.
I'm trying to stay here because I know where I'm going, but I don't forget where I came from. That's the best way I can put it.
I think that's
And
fantastic.
all my life, I'm like Oprah Winfrey. I had to fight. Okay?
And you was ready. You've also stated that God is your husband. Explain that to me.
Wow. Let me say respectfully, I just got married. So God, in essence, will always be the author of everything. He's my father, my brother, my husband, and everything that embodies, the spiritual realm of what I need to excel as a wife, a woman, a sister, a mother, a grandmother. All that is who I am. But God has always taken the lead in my life. And it wasn't until I met a man of God, completely met a man of God, that I understood that I had to marry a man that had a relationship with God. Therefore, knowing that he is the man of God that I chose, that the God that I serve is in him, I'm still in love with God.
That's fantastic. Lastly, I wanted to touch on the fact that, my goodness, you talk about full circle from television, started in movies in 2002, Broadway shows, to television, etc. What's next in the TV realm?
Well, what's next for me? I always tell you, God is the author. God is the author of all of our things and lives and our journey, but I got a couple of television concepts that I'm working on. I just got one greenlit called House of Flav that I'm super excited about. That'll be on Peachtree TV with CBS, along with co-hosted by Music Soul Child and myself. It is a music-based show. I'm super excited about that. I have a foundation called Angel Stripes that I'm over the top about, and where I love on senior citizens. That's my passion. And basically just, my mission in life is to serve. I really want to help people. I like to help people that's in my business. I like to help people that are, trying to get ahead in life. There's a couple people I work with. My entire team is very talented. I'd like to see them all get to the next level. My background singers, I'd like to all see them be front and center. Bands, same thing. I just want to see people excel. And
In fact, off camera, I asked whether or not you would be willing to be a mentor for me. So,
yes,
absolutely. She's like, boy, don't put me on the spot on camera to see if I say it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I think that's fantastic. In 2021, Angie Stone was honored by the Black Honors as the soul music icon. You definitely are a soul music icon for us. If people don't know already, where can they follow you, Angie Stone?
The Angie Stone, all over. Every platform is The Angie Stone. On Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. I'm there. I'm not as prevalent as I should be, but I'm there. I'm super excited. But you can always, check on Instagram to see what's next.
And please check out the stunning photos. Angie was gracious enough to grace our cover. Go to Jenleeion.com and also check out our presence on social media for more of that. This is the Jenleeion Circle. I'm Mario Bonds. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Does anyone still believe in paradise?